Have you ever looked at your partner and thought, why aren't they where I am? Maybe you're doing everything you can to rebuild trust, and it still feels like your partner is miles behind you. Or maybe you're the one who feels left behind, wondering why it's taking so long to stop hurting. Now, you both want the same thing, to heal, to move forward, but it feels like you're walking different paths, carrying different weights. And some days that gap feels impossible to close. So what's really going on here? In this episode, we're exploring why couples never heal at the same speed and what it means when one person's recovery work looks faster, but really isn't.
If your relationship has been shattered by betrayal and you feel stuck and lost, you're in the right place.
This is From Crisis to Connection, a closer look at the process of how couples in crisis transform betrayal into healing, rejuvenating connection.
Every episode, we dissect the healing journey so you can understand what actually works and what you can do to thrive again.
You'll step onto a clear path toward personal wholeness and vibrant partnership.
We are your hosts, Jeff and Jody Stewart. We're going to look at what's happening for the betrayed partner, the way trauma slows down the healing process in order to protect and rebuild safety. Then we'll talk about the recovering partner and why it can seem like their healing is moving faster on the surface, but underneath their work is just beginning as they start to build empathy, unlearn old beliefs, and learn how to love differently. Finally, we'll bring it together for the couple, meaning what it looks like to move forward without trying to sync up your timelines, and how to stay connected when healing takes you down separate paths.
In my experience, as soon as there's been any kind of a major betrayal in a relationship, I believe the betrayed partner automatically feels behind, like from go, because they've been left in the dark. This is new to them. And so they're in a state of playing catch up. They feel like they are now trying to figure out even how to get up to the reality that the person who broke their trust seems to already have.
So are you saying that's pretty standard then for most couples, is that the betrayed partner feels behind and the recovering partner is wondering when they'll catch up?
I think that's anybody who's been kept in the dark, this is more about secrecy. So anybody who's been kept in the dark about something that involves their life and they learn about it, now they're using all their energy to try and get up to at least the same place of knowing what the other person knows. Mm-hmm. That's really what I'm talking about there. I feel like that's where there's an initial sense of we're not in the same place.
Right. So yeah, I get that.
Okay.
But also, I feel like when the betrayed partner is not the one who has spent all this time and energy relating and behaving in ways that are immature, mm-hmm. then technically the betrayed partner is ahead in healthier behaviors and practices.
Yes. Yeah, I love that you pointed that out, because to me that's where a lot of betrayed partners feel like they're behind, but in a lot of ways because they've been living with more integrity.
Yeah.
And so on. You're right. They're ahead in so many other areas. So in terms of their own personal growth and development, it doesn't mean they don't have work to do, or this isn't going to open up opportunities for them to evolve and be a healthier person. Mm-hmm. The behind is really just about information, at least initially.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I love that distinction you're making about the illusion that somehow the other person is moving faster and is already ahead, when it's like, no, if you're keeping secrets and you're crossing lines and you're way off sides and not being healthy in how you live your life and manage your emotions and deal with your impulses and so on, then yeah, you've got a lot of work to do. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. So early in the process, the betrayed partner will feel behind because informationally they've been kept in the dark. But once there's like a solid disclosure process, and the real healing, the real rebuilding begins at that point,
Yeah.
then I think it becomes probably very clear that the betrayed partner is ahead in the process. But either way, how do you relate to somebody who's not where you're at?
Right. Right. And that's why having some people call full disclosure like a truth ritual or a truth rite, something that is really just centered around getting both people on the same page, the same truth. And then from there, it's like, okay, we technically can sort of move forward together, but the work that each of them are doing is different in terms of what's being asked of them, in that side-by-side process. But yeah, you're right. It's each person is not only starting at different places, but will also be moving to different places throughout the journey because of, stuff they're bringing, setbacks along the way, even their own just commitment to evolving and healing and growing. And so there will be this kind of back and forth movement. And it's so hard to not watch and reference your partner as a gauge for where you should be. And that's where I think betrayed partners can feel, I think, a lot of shame that they feel like they're behind because they're in the dark initially. They're not even tuned into like, how healthy am I, whatever. They're just trying to figure out what's even real, what's even up and down. So I think the shame that a betrayed partner feels a lot of the times comes from feeling like that they're taking too long, or they're so disoriented, or they're just trying to figure out where they are. And that it's like trauma slows everything down because you're just like, where am I? What's happening? And so you end up just feeling one crazy, but also it's just taking longer to, you're just going to move slowly. You're not going to just be making big commitments or decisions because you're just trying to figure out where you're even safe. And it's going to look slower than the other person who broke the trust, who's just like, let's move on, let's get past this. They're relieved in a way of trying to just get away from this mess that they've created. Where the betrayed partner is trying to sort through it or trying to figure out like what just happened. So there's an initial huge disconnect there.
Well, yeah, but again, I guess I'm going to drive home the same point. Yes, there is for sure that initial disconnect, but that disconnect remains through the process, especially initially in the process, but not just brand new. The first little while, there's going to be a huge mismatch.
Yeah,
because then the recovering partner is going to have to begin the slog of work to get healthy. And that's going to look very different in pacing to the betrayed partner.
Right. That's exactly right. Which is what usually happens as couples get deeper into the recovery process, and that gap can widen because it's like, well, and we'll talk about this in the next section here, but I think that can be a surprise for the person who broke the trust, how much work there
especially
still is to do.
At first when they're feeling so good that the truth is out, and probably really hopeful and like, oh yeah, it's
corner.
all done. Yeah. They haven't seen what's ahead.
What's around that corner. Yeah, exactly. And so, for betrayed partners, I just really want to emphasize so strongly that you're not behind. You're not behind. We've talked about this in previous episodes. You're dealing with trauma. There's just so much that you're trying to sort through. But I love the way you put it, just because people that have been betrayed or caught off guard like that doesn't mean they're perfect or that they've like evolved and they're the healthiest they'll ever be. But it's more than likely they were living their lives trying to be congruent, trying to live in truth.
Not actively
like
deceive
that.
somebody.
Right.
Like just that piece alone.
Put you ahead.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's a good life. And while there might be other refinements you want to make, nobody can take that from you. That's the work you've done, and that puts you in a really good position to keep healing and growing.
You might feel behind because you're still trying to make sense of what happened, but you've actually been living with integrity all along. You've shown up honestly and carried truth and stayed congruent in ways that already put you on solid ground. Your healing isn't about catching up with your partner if it feels like they're moving faster than you. And it's not about making sure they're keeping up with you. Instead, it's about trusting what's real and healing from that place. Every step you take toward clarity and peace is movement in the right direction.
All right, now building on the recovering partner thing, we started to get into this a little bit, but this idea that I think there's a surprise that there's a lot of work to do, that maybe you're not as far ahead as you think you are. And if you've broken trust, it's not just about confessing or getting that out and then just moving on from it. There's a lot of other work.
There's like, it's almost like there's a little honeymoon period after that.
Always.
Okay, so the truth comes out, it's a relief, it feels better for you individually. But your partner's life is crashed and burned. I'm guessing that there can become a sense of entitlement around hanging on to that. Onto the honeymoon period. Like, no, I've said it, we all know, now we can move on. Like just in a way, enjoying the freedom that comes with living in reality, and not having to keep secrets and hide.
Yeah.
But it's a big move to be willing to let that go, because it's going to go, but to not fight it, not resist the next steps, which are going to be super hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I want to clarify, the honeymoon thing is not, I mean, we use that phrase that it's definitely more of a relief for the person who broke the trust to not have to keep secrets. There's a relief in that. And there can even, like you said, even be a sense of feeling good about yourself to a degree, that you're now out of hiding and you're doing the right things now and you're telling the truth and you're trying to.
And there's like even a sense of momentum, I think, that comes with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is exclusively more related to how the person who broke the trust, the recovering partner, feels.
Yeah,
the
that's
betrayed
true.
partner
It's for the individual.
would never use the word honeymoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
So I just want to clarify, this is not a shared experience.
No.
But you're right that there is a tendency to want to hold on to that and have that in some ways represent the evidence that you're better, that you're doing well.
Sure. It can probably be deceiving to feel that and then have to confront that things aren't going well when you are genuinely experiencing something different.
Right, because I think that coming out of hiding and living in this more congruent place, at least with the truth, is a step up. It is an improvement.
Yeah.
And so you can hold on to that and say, like, look, I'm better. And you're like, yeah, you're better than you were maybe yesterday when you were in hiding. And today that's better. And now you start your work.
Yeah. Yeah. You're on the ground floor. So it's better. You're facing the right direction. That's all good. It's just the beginning.
That's right. So I think there is a mismatch always in this process where, I've even used the phrase in the past and I'm rethinking how the language might go around that, where betrayed partners feel behind. But like you said earlier, who's really behind? Well, it's going to change, and each person's going to slow down. And to me, being behind is not necessarily I don't even see that as a big problem, because it's not a race and there's not a big time frame on it. And if being behind is viewed as you're holding things up or you're making things worse, I just feel like maybe you're slowing down and maybe you're going deeper. Maybe you're looking at something that needs more attention instead of just trying to get somewhere quickly, which I think people that have broken trust and the recovering partner, I think that they tend to privilege speed and just getting out of the wreckage way more than the person who's been betrayed. They're trying to feel, less pain, more relief. Because I think there's a lot of shame hanging back in that other place that reminds them of the worst version of themselves.
Yeah. And when this happens, it's going to be tempting for the recovering partner to fall back into similar habits of controlling.
Yeah.
Because it will become very, very uncomfortable.
So true.
And they have not practiced the healthy behaviors up until this point of dealing with that kind of discomfort. And so there will be a really strong pull to continue, even if it's not in the traditional acting out kinds of ways, there will be other pulls to control and maybe even manipulate so they don't have to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah, and that's where you need to have a lot of self-confrontation and humility and honesty around. I mean, this is why in the 12 steps, it's all several first steps are really around surrender. Because
just being able to say, I'm bad at this, but I want to get good at it. So that matters, and it will keep me taking the next step. But yes, I'm bad at this, and I'm still bad at this.
And I think the performative nature of early recovery really does play into kind of the management control stuff, which is, right, sobriety, there's checklists. I mean, you're doing so many behavioral things early on to build some stability and build trust and signal that you're trying to heal and do something different. But long-term recovery is not performative.
No.
And that's where I think
it's not a signal.
No.
It's just a way of life.
And that can feel like a no man's land. Like, where do we go from here? Like, it just opens wide open,
What do you mean by that?
I think the markers early on in recovery are very concrete. Stop doing this thing that hurts your partner. Go to these meetings. Do this disclosure. Like, there's some very specific, concrete things. And the inside work, the self-confrontation, the relational dynamics, all that other stuff is less prescriptive. It's less transactional. It's less performative is the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that I think that's why it's probably the go-to initially.
Totally.
Because it's just something that it's like it's a concrete thing that you can check off, like it's a signal to yourself and to others. But that is not recovery.
No, that's like sobriety, stability stuff.
Sure. And it may or may not even be getting more than skin deep.
Usually not.
Yeah.
No, you can, like I said, you can perform that.
Right.
And look successful.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just the beginning
Yeah.
of. So then here's my question. Is it necessary to go through the motions to do the performances so it can sink in? Or is there a better way?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me think about that. I do think there's a place for it because those things do need to be put in place. So whether they're going through the motions or they're done from a heartfelt place of, I realize I need to restore this. I mean, you could quickly assemble the structure from a place of just trying to get someone off your back and just going through the motions. You could also assemble the same structure with deep remorse and grief and accountability. And the structure needs to be built regardless because that benefits everyone. But what is that container going to hold afterwards? Are you going to stay inside of it and do the work? Or are you just like, look, it's built, I'm moving on, goodbye. So I see it as it needs to be built. There is a need to do something early on. And I guess time will tell where the heart is.
If it stays something that you do just so you can keep saying, I'm good at this. See? See, I'm good at this. Then that's a signal to yourself that it's not going where maybe you want it to or hope it will without some bigger work.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I would also say that one of the dangers of early recovery and all that movement and the checklists and all the kind of concrete things that we're talking about can inadvertently or sometimes consciously put pressure on the betrayed partner that they should be doing things like that, their work should be super visible like that. Or I have a lot of guys that have broken trust will tell me things like, well, what is she even working on? Or, they'll be looking and look at all the stuff I'm having to do or what I'm doing and what is she doing? And it's like,
yeah, the mutualizing
yeah,
has no place in it.
never, no. And that's where the danger of trying to compare recovery speeds and who's doing what work and whatever else. It's like, as they say, stay in your own lane, do your work, focus on your own work and your own recovery. And this is the challenge. And this is why, why I built Courageous Together, is to help couples have that balance of really doing their own work while they're also kind of on this similar journey together. And that's why there are two very different paths. And couples are not always going to be synced up in the same space on it, which is totally normal because the work is different. And you both can be working really, really hard and it will look totally and feel different, but you could actually both be putting in maximum effort. And all you can do is put in maximum effort for yourself. You've started telling the truth and building new habits, but the deeper work happens over time. It's learning to stay present when it's uncomfortable, to open your heart when shame tells you to shut down, and to keep choosing humility when you'd rather prove that you're making progress. Real recovery is steady, it's quiet, it's lived out over years and years. So keep showing up. Let your consistency be the evidence of your change. So there's this phrase that you hear in like 12-step circles or just in recovery around sweeping your own side of the street. You've heard that phrase. Yeah. And I love that phrase. And I also think that phrase is sometimes a little bit incomplete for long-term couples work. I think early on, the idea of you being responsible for your own stuff that you have to figure out is a great directive. And I think it's important. And there's also a street between them that they share, right? That's kind of this couples area. And I think that it's really normal to sort of look over at the other person and seeing if they're working, to see how fast they're sweeping or what they're working on. And both people can get caught in this place of really trying to figure out, is there progress? Are you working? I'm working. Are you working? And it can look very different and feel very overwhelming. But it doesn't make sense to put them both in the center and get them both trying to sweep together, especially in the early stages of recovery. And so that initial work on your stuff, do your own work, focus on what you can do, I think does create a lot of safety for the long-term healing individually and together, because it's built on a foundation of personal accountability, personal responsibility. And there was this post yesterday that Jill Manning shared that I really loved. She said, the goal of long-term recovery is not necessarily reconciliation. The goal is healing. And so when you're so focused on reconciling the different speeds and getting everything to sync up just perfectly, you're going to miss some of the healing aspects that need to happen.
So are you saying that if each side focuses on their own healing, then whether they get to a point where they can kind of get their head up and look around, whether they see their partner close by or not, is not the point. And it's best to get that kind of to sink in early on?
Yeah, maybe I can clarify a little bit more about it. I think that there's the two extremes, right? Being in each other's stuff and just demanding and managing another person. And then the other extreme is just being totally separated and never talking about anything. And I think part of why, a lot of the work I've done with group programs I've run and Courageous Together is to emphasize that individual responsibility for healing, but also give couples a way to share and talk about what they're doing. Because I do think it's helpful to understand what your partner's working on, but not from a place of it has to look exactly the same as my work.
Okay, you're right. But part of me feels like, is it helpful? Is it helpful to understand, to occasionally step out into that shared street and discover that your partner is blocks away? I mean, it's helpful. It's good information, but
That's how I see it. I see it as information.
okay.
Yeah.
But how can you even step into that shared street without some kind of hope that the partner will be working their own healing process and progressing so that the relationship can survive?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, this is great. I think that early on, especially when there's not been a disclosure, the safety is really fragile. I think it's absolutely more of the right of the betrayed partner to understand what conditions they're dealing with the other person.
Sure.
And not like in a managing way,
No, but she at least needs
in
to
an
be
observational.
working her side,
Uh-huh.
but still looking up, looking around, surveying the landscape, continuing to do her work. But she needs to be,
Who's she working with?
yeah, if anyone.
Right. And I think that the responsibility for the person who's trying to rebuild trust is to, not in like a bragging way or a showboating performative way, but be able to be accountable, real, open, and honest about their work, what that looks like. That's part of creating safety. But what I'm talking about, both of them kind of knowing where the other person is at, it can just help lay some foundational stuff around getting a feel for your own instincts, your own feelings, and it can inform your own work as well. So I'm not afraid in my work with couples to have some of that visible to each other. I don't really agree with just siloed off and not having any interaction. And I definitely don't want people so enmeshed with each other that they can't even see themselves or their own work. But I definitely prioritize having the person who broke the trust have more of the responsibility of showing their work from a safety standpoint.
Yes.
I don't know that the betrayed partner has as much of an obligation, certainly early on, to somehow prove to the person who broke the trust anything. So I don't.
No, but it's
Yeah.
interesting because as I'm visualizing this, I mean, I'm seeing her or just the betrayed partner on one side of the street, kind of doing their work, but also just monitoring, looking across, paying attention to what's going on over there.
Very normal.
And that person, I'm seeing that they need to be doing work
Yes.
and have something to show. But if their work looks like, hey, did you see that I swept this part? Did you see that I did this? That's going to like wreck it. That is going to get in the way.
Yeah. And I think that's what a betrayed partner has to pay attention to. How is that work looking? How are they interacting with it? How are they living it, showing it, communicating it? Is it coming from a place of entitlement of like, look what I did, now you should respond to me this way? Or is it just, I'm just doing my work and I understand that you may or may not accept it, and I'm okay with that. Those are very different.
Yeah.
So the visibility I think it'll just reveal a lot.
I feel like we should address the mutualizing too,
Sure.
because as far as that goes, the betrayed partner sweeping her side of the street is not at all responsible for accounting for what's going on over there to anybody but herself. Maybe that's the key right there.
Yeah. Certainly when there's early recovery and trust building and safety things and there's been no disclosure, absolutely the betrayed partner is not responsible for anything like about the stability of the relationship. Be the best person you can be, but this is not something where like, well, if you don't do it, then you're responsible for this relationship. No, the relationship has already been harmed by one person's choices. So yeah, we're not going to apply equal pressure there. That's why the recovery journeys, that's why we're talking about this idea that you're not going to be synced up that way. The responsibilities are different.
Yeah.
And it's really not until later long-term recovery where couples can start to have conversations about, the real impact they're having on each other and what they want together and that kind of stuff. But that's after there's been a lot of safety and stability.
So one last question about that before we wrap up. How far does the gap get in the each recovery before you recognize it's too far?
Like visually, yeah, I'm thinking about that. And everybody's going to have their different level of tolerance. Some people are like, I understand that this person needs a long time. And that can be, that can be the recovering partner just feels like they're having to really create a lot of space for the betrayed partner to believe and trust. And that sometimes can take years. I've seen betrayed partners take a long time to want to have anything to do, depending on the damage and the time. And there's so many factors involved. But I think it's just healthy to talk about that space and what it means to you.
Okay.
And be able to have that conversation, just be really direct and honest about it. Because if it feels like it's too much space and it's having an effect on you, you have to name that. Even if you're the person who broke the trust and you're feeling like, man, it's so help me understand the space. I mean, you just have to be able to talk about it because it can mean different things. But yeah, that space, people notice the space. We just are going to notice it.
Yeah.
You're going to notice that. Yeah, it's a great question.
So you won't heal at the same speed, and that's okay. One of you may be rebuilding safety while the other is learning patience and empathy. The goal isn't to move in sync, it's to move in awareness of each other. Healing together means you both keep walking in the same direction, even when the steps don't line up. Connection grows in the space between your paces.
If this conversation is hitting close to home and you're realizing how easy it is to misread each other's pace, we have a resource for you. It's called You, Me, Us, a way forward after betrayal. And it'll help you see where you are in the process, where your partner is, and what healing looks like when you stop trying to match each other and start understanding each other. You can click on the link in the show notes and we'll send it to you right away for free.
Before we sign off, we want to show you an example of couples doing the work of healing, learning, and growth. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey as a couple because the work never stops, it just changes.
So today's example is actually from a betrayed partner who is a member of the Courage Together program, and she gave me permission to share this. And we've been talking in there about how to handle the struggle with anniversaries of like Discovery Day or D-Day, especially, and how triggering and difficult that can be to feel like you just have to brace yourself to get through that day instead of just making it like any other day. It's just a really challenging, emotionally loaded day. And something she shared I thought was really cool. She basically said, it's a day where I try and be more intentional and do things that are more soothing and that bring joy. But I specifically want to focus on things that reinforce my own resilience and my own character traits that are strengths instead of just focusing on the day that I was victimized. I love the empowerment in that. I love the intentionality around that. And I think it's a good reminder that your story does not define who you are at the core.